So, Hare Krishna, and a very warm welcome to all the devotees to our classes on Srimad Bhagavatam study. Uh, Today, we will continue our discussion on the 16th chapter of the first canto, and we will continue our journey from the 5th verse onwards. And the agenda today is to at least try to finish till the 24th verse of this chapter. The title of this chapter is How Parikshit Received Age of Kali. And overall, this is our 41st class in this course. The previous classes recordings are available on our YouTube channel Gita Online Study. Those who are joining us for first time or have not listened to these classes, they can always go there and listen to those classes if they want to maintain the continuity. And we will start the program with the Mangalacharan prayers. Rakesh Prabhu, can you help me remind who is supposed to recite the Mangalacharan prayers? Maybe I did not look before the class.
Jeevan Radha Prabhuji.
Okay, Jeevan Prabhu, please. Yeah, the floor is yours.
Yes. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्उर्मिलतां येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपादकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सह गण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सह गण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Very nice, Prabhuji. Please continue.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा। थैंक यू।
Very nice, Prabhuji. Very sweet recitation, very correct recitation. Really enjoyed your prayers. Thank you very much. Very
थैंक यू प्रभु।
nice.
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा।
Excellent. Okay. Now we move to the next part of our program, which is the recap of the previous class. And for that, I would like to invite our Rakesh ji from Meerut. Rakesh ji, floor is yours.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Summary of class 1st January 2024. 10 minutes. Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1, Chapter 15. The Pandavas retire timely. The discussion in the class revolved around how Maharaja Yudhishthir, along with his brothers Kunti Devi, Mahatma Vidul, they retire and absorb themselves in Lord Krishna's thoughts
Prabhuji, can
and
you
leave for
switch on the camera? If you can switch on your camera, maybe the devotees can also observe you while you are speaking the summary.
Okay, Prabhu. And later in the class, a new chapter 16 started, which describes as to how Maharaja Parikshit received the age of Kali. Now in verse 36 to 44, Maharaja Yudhishthir retires. Verse number 36, when Lord Krishna left this earthly planet, from that very day, Kali became fully manifest to create inauspicious conditions for persons having poor fund of knowledge, or we can say who do not know how to become God conscious. Those who are God conscious are spared from the evils of Kali. Kali already started appearing partially before when the Kurukshetra war ended, but because Lord Krishna was there, it had not fully manifested. In verse 37, Maharaja Yudhishthir was intelligent enough to understand the influence of the age of Kali, characterized by increasing avarice, falsehood, cheating, and violence. So he wisely prepared himself to leave home. Maharaja Yudhishthir was aware of the instructions of Narada Muni that after Lord departs, he should also be ready to depart. So Yudhishthir did not think twice to renounce his well-established kingdom. He showed sufficient renunciation to leave his kingdom behind and to depart from this world. In verse 38 to 39, thereafter, he enthroned his grandson Parikshit Maharaj as the emperor and posted Vajra, the great grandson of Lord Krishna, at Mathura as the king of Sursena. Then Maharaja Yudhishthir performed a Prajapatya sacrifice and quitted household life. Verse number 40. Maharaja Yudhishthir at once relinquished all his garments, belt, and ornaments of the royal order and became unattached to everything. In verse number 41 and 42, then he amalgamated his sense organs into the mind into life, life into breathing, his total existence into the embodiment of 5 elements, and his body into death, thus annihilating the gross body of 5 elements into 3 qualitative modes of material nature. He merged them in one nescience and then absorbed that nescience in the self, Brahmana. Verse number 43. After that, Maharaja Yudhishthir dressed himself in torn clothing, gave up eating, became dumb, and let his hair hang loose. He looked like an urchin or madman. He did not depend on his brothers for anything. Verse number 44. He then started towards the north to devote himself completely to the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and lived in that way wherever he went. The next section, verse 45 to 51. Other Pandavas, Draupadi, and Vidur depart. Verse number 45. After observing the arrival of the age of Kali, the younger brothers of Maharaja Yudhishthir also decided to follow in the footsteps of their elder brother. Verse number 46. They all rightly decided that the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna are the supreme goal of all. Therefore, they meditate upon his feet without interruption. Verse number 47 to 48. Thus, by pure consciousness, due to consistent devotional remembrance, they attained the spiritual sky, the abode of Lord Shri Krishna. This is attained only by those who meditate upon the one Supreme Lord without deviation. This cannot be attained by persons who are absorbed in the material conception of life. Verse number 49. Vidur, while in pilgrimage, left his body at Prabhas. Because he was absorbed in thought of Krishna, he was received by the denizens of Pitraloka planet, where he returned to his original post as Yamraja. And verse number 50, Draupadi also saw that her husbands, without caring for her, were leaving home. Then she and Subhadra became absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna and attained the same results as their husbands. There is a strong message in these verses, as described by Srila Prabhupada in the purport, that although throughout our spiritual life we may take help of other devotees, our spiritual master, but at the end of our life we have to take charge of our own self. and everyone has to fly his own plane. For this, we have to practice the devotion to Lord Krishna throughout our life sincerely and uninterruptedly, so that we can remember Lord when the time comes. Verse number 51. The subject of the departure of the sons of Pandu back to Godhead is fully auspicious and is perfectly pure. Therefore, whoever hears this narration with devotion certainly gets the devotional service of the Lord. This is the falshruti of hearing this story. And Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16. How Parikshit received the age of Kali. Verse number 1. Sud Goswami now describes that Maharaja Parikshit then began to rule over the world as a great devotee of the Lord under the instructions of the best of Dvijas. He ruled by those great qualities which were foretold by expert astrologers at the time of his birth. Verse number 2. King Parikshit married the daughter of King Uttar and begot 4 sons, headed by Maharaj Janmjay. Verse number 3. Maharaja Parikshit selected Kripacharya for guidance as his spiritual master and performed 3 horse sacrifices on the banks of Ganges. At these sacrifices, even the common man could see demigods. And verse number 4. Once when Maharaja Parikshit was on his way to conquer the world, he saw the master of Kali Yuga disguised as a king and halting the legs of a cow and bull. The king at once caught hold of him to deal sufficient punishment. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Rakesh Prabhuji. Very nicely prepared summary, very timely sent to me, and then very nicely shared with the class here. Thank you very much. And also, I would say important points, lessons from the previous class you interjected while you were mentioning your summary. So thanks a lot. Very nice.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Really appreciate. So we now come to the subject matter of the class today. And as we already saw that Rakesh ji has in the summary mentioned verse number 1 to 4, which is the first section of the 16th chapter. So today we will try to cover the next 3 sections, starting from Shonaga Rishi's questions, and then we'll conclude till verse number 24, where Dharma, the bull, asks several questions to Dharani, the cow, the mother earth in the form of cow. So these are very interesting questions from Srimad Bhagavatam, uh, showing how Srimad Bhagavatam could predict the characteristics of Kali Yuga 5,000 years ago. So 18 to 24, all these questions which Dharma is asking Dharani are very, very interesting. And in between, we will also discuss few things about Sutta Goswami describing what Parikshit Maharaj experienced while he was conquering the planned earth. So let us begin the discussion. So before that, I would like to invite 2 or 3 devotees who could recite the text
I
during
will
the
be there,
class.
Prabhu.
I will be there, Prabhuji.
So Manish ji, Vrindavaneshwari Mataji, and Anand Prada Mataji. Okay, thank you. So we'll roughly have 20 text, 20 verses today. Okay. So would like to give the opportunity to Manish ji to uh, recite the text. Please,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Prabhu. Yes. Parikshit as an ideal ruler punishes Kali. Sutta Goswami said, O learned Brahmanas, Maharaja Parikshit then began to rule over the world as a great devotee of the Lord under the instructions of the best of the twice born Brahmanas. He ruled by those great qualities which were foretold by expert astrologers at the time of his birth.
Okay, so my
Prabhuji, we
mistake,
have already
Prabhuji,
covered this.
we have already covered this. So
Yeah,
my
yeah,
mistake,
correct,
I
correct.
forgot to delete this.
Okay,
Sorry about it. Let us move to the 5th one. Yeah. Sorry, Prabhu. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. The fifth verse. Chaunaka Rishi inquired, why did Maharaja Parikshit simply punish him? Since he was the lowest of the Shudras, having dressed as a king and having struck a cow on the leg, Please describe all these incidents if they relate to the topics of Lord Krishna.
Okay. So this is the fifth verse, and before this verse, the explanation we see is about Parikshit Maharaj uh, embarking upon uh, a journey, or a conquest to conquer the world, to bring everyone under his rule, to make everyone follow the rule of this of him as an emperor. And while he's in that uh, journey to conquer the world, he sees Kali, Kali personified, dressed like a king, but actually a Shudra by consciousness, is attacking a bull, and a cow is standing nearby and observing the Shudra attacking the bull. So this narration is going on. Sud Goswami is giving this narration to the sages of the Naimisharanya. Now, when this instance of a Shudra dressed as a king hurting a cow comes in the assembly, then all of a sudden Shaunak Rishi interjects in between. He interrupts in between. He is not able to digest this fact, how somebody can actually bring harm to a bull or a cow. So this is something which he experiences when he's listening to this explanation, and he all of a sudden he interrupts into what Sud Goswami has been narrating. He's actually very surprised, and Sud Goswami mentions that Parikshit Maharaj punishes this person, punishes Kali, and this also he's not able to digest, because at that time the culture was that if somebody, first of all, it was unheard of that somebody would actually bring any harm to a cow or a bull, hmm, because these cows and bulls were considered very, very sacred animals, and they were actually worshipped in that era. So he could not imagine even in the dreams that a Shudra will dress like a king, and there could be some harm bring to a cow or a bull. So this is something which he was very, very surprised, and that is why all of a sudden he interrupted in between when the katha was going on. So Prabhupada also writes in the purport about these two things, that a Shudra dressed as a king, that is one point, and the bull and the cow being hurt by someone. So what he's saying, that this is actually the two very prominent qualities that we see, or characteristics that we see of Kali Yuga, right? Even today, we see that those who are administrators, they don't have any moral characters, they don't have any ethical inclinations, and without being morally correct, without being ethical in their training, these people become rulers, these people become administrators of people, of nations. So this is one observation, and the second observation is that today, in this age of Kali, we see organized slaughterhouses all around us, where cows, bulls, all these very sacred animals in representing Brahmanical culture are being slaughtered in a very organized way. But at that point, when this katha was going on and the sages of Naimisharanya was hearing this katha, it was very, very hurting, very, very surprising that something like this was going on. And then the second point in this verse is, please describe all these incidents if they relate to the topics of Lord Krishna. So here the sages of Naimisharanya, uh, probably they started to get this sense, specifically Shaunak Rishi, that why Sud Goswami is describing this incident of a Shudra being dressed like a king, and he's bringing some harm and hurting a bull. Is it really related to the pastime of Lord Krishna? Has it something to do with Hari Katha, or this is something which is a side tracking? His Sud Goswami is doing, his diversifying or digressing from the topic. So he wanted to check. That's why he raised this question. Please describe all these incidents if they relate to the topic of Lord Krishna. Otherwise, kindly you can actually ignore it, and you may like to come back to the topic of Hari Katha. So the point here is that Srimad Bhagavatam actually describes no other topic which is not related to Lord Krishna. Everything that is been described in Srimad Bhagavatam has some connection with Lord Krishna. There are multiple topics in Bhagavatam, you would see. There are topics related to science, there are topics related to politics, there are topic related to maybe economics, culture, etc., etc. Multiple topics are there, but all of them have some connection or the other with Lord Krishna. So this topic of Kali being hurting the bull is also connected with Lord Krishna. So that is why Sud Goswami is bringing it here, and so that is mainly the point, that devotees are only interested in hearing Hari Katha, and they don't want to waste their time hearing anything else, anything else than Hari Katha. So this topic will further be elaborated in the next verse. Let us go to that. Here, this is a very beautiful verse. Probably we might remember it also when we come to that point. But so I will recite this verse, and Manishji, please recite it together with me.
Yeah.
अथवास्य पदाम्बोजं
अथवास्य पदाम्भोजम्
मकरन्दलिहंसताम्
मकरन्दाम्लिहंसतम्
किं मन्यैर्सदालापैर्
किमन्यर्सदालापेर्
आयुषो यद् असद्व्ययः.
आयुषो यद् असद्वय.
Very nice. Now, please read the translation, Prabhu.
Yeah. The devotees of the Lord are accustomed to licking up the honey available from the lotus feet of the Lord. What is the use of topics which simply waste one's valuable life?
Hmm. So, the devotees of the Lord are accustomed to licking up the honey available from the lotus feet of the Lord. What is the use of topics which simply waste one's valuable life? So, this is the Shaunak Rishi continuing his discussion from the previous verse. So, in the previous verse, he is asked, if it is related to Lord Krishna, then only please describe it. And he continues it that if it is related to Lord Krishna, devotees are only accustomed to licking up the honey available from the lotus feet of the Lord. So he's presenting it in a very sweet way, in a very charming way, and in a very, I would say, beautiful way. That we are interested only in those topics which are related to the lotus feet of the Lord, because the topics which are related to the lotus feet of the Lord are as sweet as honey. So that is what he's trying to emphasize to Sud Goswami. And and then he emphasizes that what is the use of topics which simply waste one's valuable life. So here uh, we can see the consciousness of the sages of Nemisharanya, that if they got a slightest of hint while narration of Srimad Bhagavatam is going by Sud Goswami, if they got a slightest of hint that this probably could not be a topic related to Hari Katha, then sir, please excuse us. Actually, we are not interested in this. We will really humbly beg you that you kindly come back to the main topic. You please be there. We are not interested in what that Shudra king was doing to that bull, and anything like that. So that is something which is the intention here. And then we also need to understand one more point in this verse, that many times people think, general people, I'm not talking about people who are assembled in this class, but generally who are not interested in spiritual discourses, spiritual topics, they think that if they are doing something spiritual, for example, if they are hearing some katha, or if they are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, or if they are reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita and so on, this is a waste of time. Many times people think like that. But uh, let me try to emphasize here that when we engage our time in hearing topics related to Lord Krishna, topics related to spirituality in general Krishna consciousness, or maybe devotees related to Lord Krishna, if we hear topics like that, these topics have a purifying effect on our consciousness. These topics are like medicine. These topics purify us from lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, envy, and it creates it actually make us more efficient towards uh, when we are actually dealing with the world outside, because now we are dealing with the world with purified consciousness. And when our consciousness is purified, we are not interested in topics other than Krishna consciousness. We become disinterested in topics like maybe mundane sports, mundane uh, films, mundane videos, etc., etc. We become disinterested in all those topics. So actually, when we spend a little time in these Krishna conscious topics, we become more and more efficient. So it is not actually waste of time, rather it is a very good proper use of time uh, to make ourselves purified, to make ourselves more efficient in our regular day to day dealings with the world. So that is the point I would like to mention. And in order to give an example to it, so I would like to give one example from our from the life of our acharyas, and then I will also like to give an analogy. So the example is of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So does anyone know in the assembly here what was the profession of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur? Does anyone know or remember it?
District magistrate.
Yes, very nice. So he was a district magistrate, a DM of a city, a DM of a city. Now, can you imagine how busy uh, how busy a life could be for a district magistrate of a city? I would expect it would be very, very busy. As a DM, it's a very, very responsible post. So British government was quite impressed with the with Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and they appointed him as a district magistrate. Bhakti Vinod Thakur was very much a scholar in the subject matter of Vedic literature. At the same time, he was very well connected with the masses, and that is why British government thought that this person could be a very useful person for uh, for him to be a district magistrate, because he would understand the psychology of the people and he can actually relate with the people very well. So at the same time, Bhakti Vinod Thakur had written lot of books on Vaishnava philosophy. Actually, if you see this movement, we see founder Acharya of ISKCON is Srila Prabhupada. But before Srila Prabhupada, we see Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur introducing 64 Gaudiya Vaishnav Gaudiya Mathas in the country. But before Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur actually wrote lot of literature. So this movement, although we see in the present form being manifested uh, from Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, but the foundation of all this movement was laid down by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Because he wrote excellent literature, he wrote excellent Vaishnava philosophy through his books. The point I am trying to say is, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, although he was a district magistrate of a city, yet he wrote so many Vaishnava literature. Why he could do so much? And despite of that, he had 11 children. He was a family man. He had 11 children to look after. So much of responsibility, both from the family front, also in the profession front, and yet on the spiritual front, he could contribute so much. Why? Because he was having a lot of purified consciousness. Because of that purified consciousness, spend he could utilize his time in a very judicious way, in a very efficient way. So this is one example I want to give. And the second is analogy. Analogy is that if we are about to cut a tree, then if we spend time, say 30% or 25% of the time, if we want to if we sharpen the edge of that X with which we want to cut the tree, then cutting the tree becomes very, very easy. So Krishna consciousness is spending time with Krishna consciousness, subject matter or devotees, is actually like sharpening our aches. And when we sharpen our aches, our intellect gets sharpened, our minds get sharpened, and we are able to deal with people in a very, very efficient way. So this is something which is the purport of this particular verse. Okay. Now we move to the seventh verse. Manishji.
Yeah. O Suta Goswami, there are those amongst men who desire freedom from death and get eternal life. They escape the slaughtering process by calling the controller of death Yamaraja.
Okay. So here the explanation further continues. Now Shaunak Rishi is further emphasizing his point that we don't want to waste our time in ordinary subject matter. huh? We are here to hear Hari Katha, and by hearing Hari Katha, we want to come out from this cycle of birth and death. And we are looking forward to go to the spiritual world where we get an eternal life. So, this is what we want. So, please consider if your subject matter is not related with Krishna. And Hari Katha is so potent, it is so potent that uh, even Yamaraj likes to hear Hari Katha. Even Yamaraj, who is the controller of death, or I would say manager of death on behalf of Lord. Uh, yeah, even Yamaraj likes to hear Hari Katha because Yamaraj is also a devotee of the Lord. So if you are continuing with Hari Katha, even Yamaraj would like to sit in this assembly. And if Yamaraj is sitting in this assembly, then there is no question of death for us. There is no question of death because Yamaraj is sitting with us. Now he is not interested in awarding death to anyone. So simply continue with your narration of Hari Katha and don't digress with the topic. So that is what Shaunak Rishi is further explaining to Sud Goswami. Now read
Yeah.
Prabhu, eighth one.
As long as Yamaraja, who causes everyone's death, is present here, no one shall meet with death. The great sages have invited the controller of death, Yamaraja, who is the representative of the Lord. Living beings who are under the grip should take advantage by hearing the deathless nectar in the form of this narration of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord.
Yeah. So here you can see the formula for immortality is given. If you want to become immortal, then there are maybe many scientists who are trying to work on something which may make a person immortal or make prolong his life or her life or whatever. But the real formula for immortality is given here, which is Hari Katha. So can you remember any verses from Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, previous chapters, where glorification of Hari Katha has been given and some characteristics of Hari Katha has been mentioned? Can you remember any other words also? Uh, anyone in the assembly here? Do you remember any other words also?
Pipata Rasamalayam.
Ha. So Pibat Rasmalayam actually is an invitation for the reader of Srimad Bhagavatam that it is very, very sweet. It is liquid. It is Krishna's mercy in the liquid form. So
Even the verse that we did today in the class, Sadhuvad Visargo,
Janataga Viplavo. Yeah,
Janata.
but yeah, Yasmin Pratishlokam Abadhavatyapi. Janataga Viplavo. So, but that is actually emphasizing about bringing revolution in the life of sinful people. So any words which you can remember from the previous chapters which talks about immortality, crossing over ocean of birth and death. So there is one verse that we had studied in the previous chapter, which is etadha atura chittanam matra sparshachyamuhu bhavasindhu plavo drishto haricharya anuvarnanam. So bhavasindhu plavo drishto haricharya anuvarnanam etada atura chittanam matra sparshachyamuhu. So etada atura chittanam means those people whose consciousness is very, very disturbed. Atura. Etada atura chittanam. Chitta means consciousness. Matra sparshachyamuhu. By continuously engaging themselves in the subject matter of sense gratification. For those people, Haricharya Anuvarnanam is something like Bhavasindhu Plavo Drishto. Bhavasindhu means ocean of material existence. Plavo means the boat. The boat. So Haricharya or Harikatha is actually like a boat for those people who are constantly disturbed by the subject matter of this material world. So this Harikatha is like boat which makes them cross over the ocean of this material existence. So this is one verse which we had studied in the previous chapter, which is talking about the same thing. Okay, so we have verse 5, 6, 7, 8. We move to the next one. Okay, Prabhu. So this is a Sanskrit verse, again a very beautiful one. Hmm. Again, this will probably remind you from the previous chapters another verse from Bhagavatam. Mandasya manda pragyasya
Mandasya manda pragyasya
vayo mandayushascha vai
vayo mandayushascha vai
nidraya hriyate naktam
nidraya hariyate naktam
divacha vyartha karmabhihi.
divya cha vyartha karma bhi.
Hmm. Now you will see in this particular verse some symptoms of Kali Yuga you will start to relate with. Mandasya manda pragyasya. Mandasya. Mandasya means dull. Dull means lazy. Manda pragyasya. Manda pragyasya means pragya means intelligence. So they are lazy, they are dull, and they also have little intelligence. Manda pragyasya, little intelligence. And then vayha mandah, vayha manda ayushascha, and their lifespan is also manda, is small. Ayu is life. And then nidraya hriyate naktam. Nidraya hriyate naktam. So nidraya means sleeping, hriyate means spending time, naktam means actually in the night. So these people actually spend time sleeping in the night, and then divacha, uh, divacha vyartha karma bhi. And then in the diva means in the daytime, they do vyartha karma bhi. They do only vyartha activities, only vyartha karma, only sinful, or I would say useless activities. So mandasya manda pragyasya vayo mandayushcha vai nidraya hriyate naktam divacha vyartha karma bhi. So can you relate with the people of life of people of Kali Yuga? Probably it's a little it's a little less, I would say, uh, taxing on the life of Kali Yuga people, because it is saying Nidraya Hriyate Naktam. So these people sleep at night, but nowadays we see people sleeping in the daytime also. So little discounted version of the life of people of Kali Yuga. Okay, Prabhu, can you please read the translation?
Yes. Lazy human beings with paltry intelligence and a short duration of life pass the night sleeping and the day performing activities that are useless.
Hmm. So here, uh, Shaunak Rishi is explaining that the quality of life of people of Kali Yuga. So, does it remind you of any verse from the previous chapters? Hmm? I think it was in the second.
प्राय- प्रायेण अल्प आयुषः
Ha,
सभ्य
ha. Prayan
कलास्मिन् युगे
Alpa Manda. Yeah, yes.
मन्दमतिषु
Manda
मन्दभाग्य
Sumeda Manda Bhagya.
Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Hyupadurta. Hmm. So that is, I think it was in the second chapter, where the discussion is about the qualities or the characteristics of people of Kali Yuga.
फर्स्ट चैप्टर 10th
Prayan,
श्लोक
sorry, Prabhu.
फर्स्ट चैप्टर 10th श्लोक प्रभुजी
First chapter, 10th shloka. So it is Prayan Alpayusha Sabhya Kalavasmin Yuge Jana Mandha Sumandamatiyo Mandabhagya Hyupadurta. So something very similar is being mentioned here. And what Shaunakadi Rishis is trying to say here is that people in general in Kali Yuga don't understand and don't value human life. They simply spend their time in the night, they sleep, and when they wake up, they engage themselves in useless activities. So he's talking this verse in context with the previous verse, where he's talking about that subject matter related to the lotus feet of the Lord are like honey. And here in the ninth verse, he's saying, uh, but in general, people are not interested in this kind of subject matter. They simply continue to waste their time. In the night, they sleep. In the daytime, they perform useless activities. So something very remind me of another verse which we talk very often when we go for preaching to new people in general. That is ahar nidra bhay maithunam cha samanam etat pashubhir naranam dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubhir samana. So if a human being is simply wasting his time in ahar nidra bhay maithun, then he is no different from a pashu. He's no different from an animal. Because if you want to call yourself a human being, then you have to follow some dharma. You have to follow some path of dharma. Dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubhir samana. A very cutting verse. Very cutting verse. It is actually practically, calling people of Kali Yuga as animals. So a very cutting verse. Okay. Now we give opportunity to Vrindavaneshwari Mataji to please recite this text.
Yes, Prabhu. Suta Goswami said, while Maharaj Parikshit was residing in the capital of Kuru Empire, the symptoms of the age of Kali began to infiltrate within the jurisdiction of his state. When he learned about this, he did not think the matter very palatable. This did, however, give him a chance to fight. He took up his bow and arrow and prepared himself for military activities.
Hmm, hmm. So now Shaunak Rishi in between interrupted, glorified Harikatha, uh, gave some impression about the people of life of Kali Yuga, and then the discussion continues further. Sud Goswami understood. I am dealing with a very alert audience. Although the reference of Kali hurting bull was not other than the Krishna Katha, it was very much in the domain of Krishna Katha. But the point is that the conversation is going on, the speaker is speaking, audience is interjecting in between. So that is going on. Now the discussion continues. Sud Goswami now starts narrating that Parikshit Maharaj was residing very peacefully in his kingdom of Hastinapur. Everything was peaceful, going on very nicely. But then he starts to observe symptoms of the age of Kali in the jurisdiction of his state. And when he started to get that feeling, when he started to learn about this, then he was very alert. He became very alert. He became very cautious about what is going on in my kingdom. He was very sensitive to this kind of issues. Uh, So what did he do? He he wanted to bring the situation to order. He wanted to correct the situation, and he took up his bow and arrow and started to go on a world conquest to bring things to order. So what are the symptoms of Kali that we typically hear? The four symptoms of Kali are illicit connection with women or men, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. So these are the four symptoms of Kali Yuga. And Kali Yuga actually means Yuga of Kalaha. Kalaha means quarrel. So in this age of Kali Yuga, when we say, it actually means age of quarrel, quarrelsome age. So because of these symptoms like illicit connection with other sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, what actually happens is that people start to become quarrelsome in nature. They start to become quarrelsome in nature. And this is the symptom which Parikshit Maharaj wanted to fix. And in order to fix this situation, he embarks upon a military conquest where he would go to those kingdoms where he would see these symptoms and would make the king of that kingdom subject to his rule. He would challenge that king. He would say that now you need to come to my subject. You need to become part of my kingdom. You need to become part of my emperor. Either you accept my emperorhood or we need to fight. So on that military conquest he embarks upon to fix the problem of Kali Yuga. Okay, next one, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Maharaj Parikshit sat on a chariot drawn by the black horses. His flag was marked with the sign of a lion. Being so decorated and surrounded by charioteers, cavalry, elephants, and infantry soldiers, he left the capital to conquer in all directions.
Yeah, so here you can see the Parikshit Maharaj in the picture. Also the slide shows the picture of Parikshit Maharaj, but there's a little difference between the chariot of Arjuna and the chariot of Parikshit Maharaj. So chariot of Arjuna was uh, employing white horses, and the flag on that chariot was, the emblem was Lord Hanuman. But in the chariot of Parikshit Maharaj, the horses are of black color, and the emblem on the flag of Parikshit Maharaj chariot is lion. So there's a small difference, some detail that you may uh, like to note in this verse. And then he went out with so much of army, elephants, cavalry, infantry, soldiers, and so on. And that's how he left his Hastinapur on a world conquest to fix the problem of Kali Yuga. Okay, move to the next one.
Maharaj Parikshit then conquered all the parts of the earthly planets: Bhadrashva, Ketumala, Bharata, the northern Kuru, Kim Purusha, etc., and exacted tributes from their respective rulers.
So there's a mention of various places where Parishit Maharaj went. Prabhupada in the purport explain all the details about various of these places: Bhadrashva, and then Ketumal, Bharatvarsh, Uttar Kuru, Kim Purusha Varsh, and so on. So those who are interested in the details, maybe they can read from the purport. Uh, so while I was going through these verses, I was wondering, Prabhupada has given so much detail in his purports. We don't find so much detail generally in Bhagavatam purports normally. So I was feeling very, very grateful for Prabhupada to write all these purports. So just to share my feelings. Uh, okay, 13th to 15th verse. Yes, Mataji.
Wherever the king visited, he continuously heard the glories of his great forefathers, who were all devotees of the Lord, and also of the glorious act of Sri Krishna. He also heard how he himself had been protected by the Lord from the powerful heat of the weapon of Ashwatthama. People also mentioned the great affection between the descendants of Vrishni and Pratha, due to the latter's great devotion to Lord Keshava. The king, being very pleased with the singers of such glories, opened his eyes in great satisfaction. Out of magnanimity, he was pleased to award them very valuable necklaces and clothing.
Hmm. So suddenly now the in 13 to 15 verse, the topic actually digresses a little bit. So in the previous verses, we have been hearing about Lord Maharaj Parikshit moving out on a world conquest to fix the problem of Kali. Now, while he is on the tour of this conquering the world, there is something happening with him when he's going to various kingdoms. So when he's going to various kingdoms, in many of these kingdoms, he is welcomed. He is welcomed by some glorification, and the nature of the glorification is mentioned in this verse. So the topic of Parikshit Maharaj protected by Lord Krishna when he was in the womb of his mother, and various other topics related to uh, devotion of Pandavas towards Lord Krishna, devotion of Vrishnis toward Lord Krishna. So that all those stories, all those narrations have already gone out from the kingdom of Hastinapur to various parts of the world. Now, when King Parikshit is on the tour, this military tour, he is welcomed by various kingdoms, and the way he is welcomed by the various kingdom is in the form of singing. So the kings would send some singers to glorify all these stories, all this Krishna Katha before King Parikshit. So King Parikshit is welcomed by these glorification, and all these glorification pleased him a lot. Pleased him a lot. So one might think that these glorifications were about his forefathers, were about the Pandavas, uh, his father Abhimanyu, his grandfather like Arjuna, Yudhishthir, and so on. He might be pleased hearing glorification of his forefathers, but it was not like that. Actually, he was not hearing glorification of his forefathers. Rather, he was hearing the glorification of the devotees of Lord Krishna. And he himself, being a very great devotee of Lord Krishna, really enjoyed hearing all those glorification. Because when a devotee hear the glorification of the Lord or glorification of other devotees of the Lord, the devotees actually draw a lot of joy, a lot of satisfaction they find in their heart. And because he was becoming very, very pleased, and out of that pleasure, out of that real uh, uh, charm that he had developed for hearing these narrations, these singing of various from various people, he was very, very satisfied. And out of that satisfaction, he would give some gifts. He would reward them with valuable necklace, clothing, like you would see in Bollywood movies also, that when a king would be very happy, he would take out the necklace and give it to the subject, who with whom he is very, very pleased. So like this King Parikshit was experiencing when he was on the tour, on that military conquest. And because these subject matter of devotion are very satisfactory, he was feeling and reciprocating by awarding the various people with various gifts. Okay, move to the next one. So another very beautiful verse, worth remembering, worth memorizing if you would like to. And before we recite the verse, maybe a small test for the class. Can you advise me how many syllables are there in this verse? And once you know the number of syllables, can you tell me which potential meter this should be sung? Hmm. Give you 2 minutes. Anyone?
17, Prabhu. 17 or 18?
17. Okay, one option is 17. Any other? Any other? How many syllables are there? So what formula did I mention to you in the previous classes? How to know, how to identify number of syllables when it is written in Roman script? When it is written in Roman script, I have given you
You
a one thumb
said,
rule.
Vowels,
you
is
said
it?
something about vowel sounds.
Vowels.
Vowels.
Yes. So how many vowels?
14.
14. So which 14? 14 is the right one. You can count later on. So which meter is 14 syllable words would be? Which meter?
Vishak winter.
Is it Vasanta Tilakam?
Vasant
Vasant
Tilkam.
Tilkam.
Vasant Tilkam. So
Vasant
Vidya
Tilkam.
Mataji was roaming around that name. Okay. Okay. Vasant Tilkam. Vasant Tilkam. Now, what is the reference poetry or reference prayer we
Brahma Samhita.
Brahma
Brahma
Samhita.
Samhita. Brahma
Brahma
Samhita.
Samhita. Okay. How do we recite Brahma Samhita? Venu
Govindam
Kwanantam Aravinda Dalayataksam
Rajam
Godindamadipurusham.
Tamaham
Tamaham
Bhajami Venu Kwanantam Aravinda Dalayataksam. So that is the melody. So now you know how to recognize the meter and how to recognize the melody. Now it will be sung something very similar. So please recite with me, Vrindavaneshwari Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Sa Saratya Parashad Sevana Sakhya Dautya
Saratya Parashada Sevana Sakya Dautya
Virasananugama Stavana Pranaman
Virasanarnugamana Stavana Pranaman
Snigdheshu Pandushu Jagat Pranatim Cha Vishno
Snigdheshu Pandushu Jagat Pranatim Cha Vishnur
Bhaktim Karoti Nrapatish Charanaravinde.
Bhaktim Karoti Nrapatish Charanaravinde.
Excellent, excellent, very nice. So this is Vasanta Tilakam, and now you see uh, the previous verse. This is 16th verse, and the previous verse, which is 13th, 14th, and 15th, they are all Anushtup Chanda. So from Anushtup Chanda, suddenly the flow of Bhagavatam changes and the meter changes. And let me tell you, this observation that whenever you hear or read Vedic literature, you can observe this in Srimad Bhagavad Gita as well. Whenever in the narration or in the flow of this Vedic literature like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, there is something very nice, there is something very important, there is some turning point is about to come. There is some turning point about to come. Then the subject matter actually changes and the meter also changes in order to emphasize upon that point. So here you see Anushtup Chand is going on, and all of a sudden the meter changes to Vasant Tilka. So
Is it
uh,
like we were hearing about Maharaj Parikshit is going through the kingdoms, hearing
hmm,
about his glory, about
hmm,
his being the devotee, and
hmm.
suddenly now we will be reading about the glories of Krishna in this
Yeah, yeah,
chanda?
yeah. It. This particular verse is about glories of Krishna, and you will sense here that Parikshit, while hearing the glories of Lord Krishna, has become
Yeah,
emotional, or I would say overwhelmed with the feelings of devotion towards the Lord.
okay.
Overwhelmed with the feeling of devotion towards the Lord. So that is something which you will experience in this verse, and that is why the meter has changed. That is why the meter has changed. So Bhagavatam means Vyasadev at his best. So Vyasadev has used his poetical skills in Srimad Bhagavatam at his best. So the story is flowing on, some meter is going on, the way the song is being sung in a particular melody. Now all of a sudden the singer, the reciter of Srimad Bhagavatam changes the meter, changes the melody. Why he
Yes,
changes the melody? Because the mood now becomes a little more devotional, extra devotional. Although Srimad
yes,
Bhagavatam completely is devotional, but here it becomes a little more enriched with devotion of King Parikshit. So let us read the
yes,
translation, Mataji. Please
yes.
continue.
Maharaj Parikshit heard that out of his causeless mercy, Lord Krishna, that is Vishnu, who is universally obeyed, rendered all kinds of service to the malleable sons of Pandu by accepting posts ranging from chariot driver to the president to messenger, friend, night watchman, etc., according to the will of the Pandavas, obeying them like a servant and offering obeisances like one younger in years. When he heard this, Maharaj Parikshit became overwhelmed with the devotion to the lotus feet of the Lord.
Yeah. So now what we are hearing here is in this verse, when these singers are singing the glories of Lord Krishna before Parikshit Maharaj as a part of welcome, as a part of welcome, because these people know Parikshit Maharaj is a great devotee, and devotee would only like to hear the glorification of his master, of Supreme Lord. So, what best way is to please Parikshit Maharaj is to simply sing the glories of the Lord, and he will become very, very happy, very, very satisfied. Now, here in this verse, what is being mentioned here is the Bhakta Vatsal nature of Lord Krishna. So, Bhakta Vatsal nature means that the Lord was so much in love with his devotees that out of his love for his devotees, he actually became the servant of his devotees. And the examples are given. Example is given are, he by accepting the post ranging from, now there are multiple such incidents, multiple such events are being mentioned, from chariot driver, so Parth Sarthi, to the president means when Maharaj Yudhishthir was organizing that Rajasuya Yagya, then Lord Krishna was made the chief of the assembly. Chief of the assembly, he was made the Agra Puja. He received the Agra Puja. The first puja or the chief puja was received by Lord Krishna. And not only Agra Puja Lord Krishna was receiving, but actually in that assembly, Lord Krishna was personally washing the feet of the guests that were coming in the assembly. So that is the activity that the Lord was doing. To the messenger, chariot driver, president, to the messenger is Lord Krishna was sent, or he went to Duryodhan as a Shanti Doot, as an ambassador. So that is a menial service, that is a service, as a servant he was doing. A friend, he was behaving like a friend to Arjuna. Night watchman. Night watchman means he was guarding these people in night as a watchman, etc. According to the will of the Pandavas. According to the will of the Pandavas, obeying them like a servant and offering obeisances like one younger in years. Offering obeisances means, so Lord Krishna, although he's the supreme Lord, but when he comes to this world, he actually follows the custom of the world. So with Pandavas, the two Pandavas were elder to Lord Krishna, uh, like Yudhishthir Maharaj and Bhimsen. They were elder to Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna will offer his obeisances, his dandavat pranams, his pranams to Yudhishthir and Bhimsen. With Arjuna, he was equal, and with Nakul and Sahadev, he was elderly. So he's saying that offering obeisances like one younger in years. Now, when Parikshit Maharaj is hearing the Bhakta Vatsal Subhav of the Lord, then the emotions of devotion are overwhelming him. They are flooding his heart with devotion. Oh my Lord, he's supreme Lord. He doesn't have to behave like a servant to anybody. He's a supreme Lord under whose millions of Lakshmis are serving this supreme Lord all the time. And this supreme Lord, out of his devotion, out of his love for his devotees, is performing such menial services. So, hearing about all this is overwhelming the heart of Parikshit Maharaj. So, now you can see Srimad Bhagavatam is narrating a story that Parikshit Maharaj is going on a world conquest. And while going in the world conquest, you can see the devotion is coming out in the story. So it is something like you go on a business tour, and while on the business tour, you come in contact with a client who is a devotee, and as a devotee, he is offering you a beautiful. You are dealing with him in business. You are doing the business with that person, but while doing the business with him, he's in between. Sir, may I tell you something little bit from Srimad Bhagavatam? May I tell you something from Srimad Bhagavad Gita? I recently read something in this book which was so nice. So the life becomes so joyful, life becomes so devotionally enjoyable. So this is something similar which is happening with Parikshit Maharaj. Now let us read from the purport that Prabhupada has written on this verse. Yeah.
Appreciating the dealings of Lord with pure devotees. Simply by appreciating the dealings of the Lord with his pure devotees, one can attain salvation. The Lord's dealings with his devotees appear to be ordinary human dealings, but one who knows them in truth becomes at once eligible to go back home, back to Godhead.
Yeah. Now you see a very probably when we will read Srimad Bhagavatam, we might skip this line. This may not appear very abnormal or very unusual to us, but if you read twice, if you hold on yourself, if you stay here and try to understand this, what Prabhupada is saying is simply by appreciating the dealings of the Lord with his pure devotees, simply by appreciating, simply by meditating upon how such a supreme personality of Godhead can become a chariot driver of his devotee Arjuna. So chariot driver is not a very elevated post, and in the war, when you have to guide your chariot driver, sometimes there is so much noise that you might have to use your foot to poke the body of the chariot driver to tell the chariot driver whether to move right or whether to move left. So chariot driver, if he is accepting such a humble and a menial position for his devotee, and if a devotee, if a practitioner of Krishna consciousness appreciate this emotion, appreciate this devotion or the loving exchanges between the devotee and the Lord, simply if he has appreciation for this fact, then Prabhupada is writing that one can attain salvation. This is sufficient enough to attain liberation from this material existence. The Lord's dealings with his devotees appear to be ordinary human dealings. Like we have been hearing in previous chapters, that Arjuna would sometime sleep with Lord Krishna, Arjuna sometime will jokingly chastise or pass comment on Lord Krishna. He would eat together, they would walk together like a friend, and so on. So there were ordinary human dealings, It may appear like ordinary human dealings, but behind those ordinary human dealings, there is a lot of devotional exchanges happening between the devotee and the Lord Himself. And one who understands this, one who appreciates this, one who become devotionally excited about when he hear these stories, is eligible to become liberated only. This is something which is a very important point from this purport. So I hope you would appreciate also. Okay, now we move to the next one, 17th. Please, Mataji, go ahead.
Yes, Prabhu. Now you may hear from me of what happened while Maharaj Parikshit was passing his days hearing of the good occupations of his forefathers and being absorbed in thought of them.
Okay, now Parikshit Maharaj is on a military conquest. He has a business to do. He has to restore order. He has to fight the influences of Kali. While going on this business tour, on this military tour, he is hearing a lot of glorification, which is making him overwhelmed with devotion and so on. Now, here, Sud Goswami takes a turn, the Katha takes a turn, and here he mentioned that something is now going to happen. In the tour, Parikshit Maharaj observes something. What is that? Let us see. 18th.
The personality of religious principles, dharma, was wandering about in the form of bull, and he met the personality of word in the form of cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus, Dharma questioned the earth as follows.
Hmm. So while he's going on the business trip, his job as a king, uh, he come across Dharma and Dharani. So Dharma is in the form of a bull. He's a Dharma means the personality of religious principles. He's wandering in the form of a bull, and together with Dharma is another personality, that is Earth, and she is in the form of a cow. And he sees them, the cow, the Dharani or the Earth, Mother Earth, appear to be very grieved. She appears to be very sad, as if she had lost some child. And she had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. So looking all those bodily features, looking all those uh, emotions, or I would say state of affairs, state of consciousness of Dharani, cow, uh, bull, the Dharma, the bull, questions the earth, and these questions are asked from 19th to 24th verses, which we are going to read in a short while from now. So Prabhupada in the purport writes that any society which can keep these two animals happy, bull and the cow. Bull is representing dharma, and cow is actually representing, for example, milk, food product, a very healthy and a nutritious food product as milk. That society which can keep the bull, the dharma, and the cow happy is always prosperous, will prosper. And killing of both these animals is happening in the society, and that is one of the main reasons why we don't see the societies together today, in today's time, not very prosperous. So this is a very anti to brahmanical culture. In brahmanical culture, nobody would hear that cow and bull are tormented. So result of such anti-brahmanical culture, hmm, result of such anti-brahmanical culture, which is the age of Kali, actually will be described and explained in the verses that are going to follow. Hmm. Now I would invite Anand Prada Mataji. Thank you very much, Vrindavaneshwari Mataji. Anand Prada Mataji, to help me recite the text on the slide. Yes, Mataji, please. 19th verse.
Yes. Dharma of the bull asked, Madam, are you not pale and hurty? Why are you covered with the shadow of grief? It appears by your face that you have become black. Are you suffering from some internal disease, or are you thinking of some relative who is away in a distant place?
Now you would see a list will start. A list of questions will start. So you remember in the previous chapters, when Arjuna comes to meet Yudhishthir Maharaj, he comes from Dwarka and goes to Hastinapur and meet his brother, elder brother Yudhishthir Maharaj, Arjuna is also very sad, very depressed. And Yudhishthir Maharaj asks a series of questions to Arjuna. Are you depressed because of this? Are you depressed because of this? Are you depressed because of this? So similarly, the bull, the Dharma, the bull, will start a series of questions uh, to this cow, Dharani, the cow, Mother Earth, the cow. And each of these questions we will kind of reflect a little bit, because all of these questions are actually pointing towards the symptoms of Kali Yuga. So let us see. So what are the first thing? Are you suffering from internal disease? Now in Kali Yuga, we see that people's living habits are not very healthy. And most of the time when we come across people, they are actually complaining about some health issue or the other. So this is also one symptom of Kali, where we don't find very healthy people. Most of the people are afflicted with some disease or other in general. Then the second one is, are you thinking of some relative who is away in a distant place? This is another symptom of Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, we don't see families living together. We don't see families living together. Either we see families are broken apart. In some years ago, we see there was a culture of joint family. Still, several uh, decades ago, we see there was a culture of joint family: grandfather, grandmother, then the sons, and then the grandchildren, and there would be a business, and then they would live together, and then they would enjoy the festivals together. Everything would be very, 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 very friendly, very, very cordial, very enjoyable. People helping each other. So all that was happening in the previous times. But in Kali Yuga, we see families are broken. uh, the son is working in a distant land. They have gone to America for earning more money. They have gone to some other place for some other activity. So this is one aspect of Kali Yuga. There is another aspect of Kali Yuga here. So distance could be physical distance. Distance could also be emotional distance. So the family members may be geographically located at some other place, but even if they are living together, their hearts are distant apart. Their hearts their hearts are not compatible. They don't talk to each other often, although they live next to each other, next door, but they don't talk to each other. So there are compatibility issues, and there are also geographically distant issues in Kali Yuga. So this is one symptom in the 19th verse. Okay, we go to the next one. Please read.
I have lost my three legs and am now standing on one only. Are you lamenting for my state of existence? Or are you in a great anxiety because henceforward the unlawful meat eaters will exploit you? Or are you in a sorry plight because the demigods are now bereft of their share of sacrificial offerings because no sacrifices are being performed at present? Or are you grieving for living beings because of their sufferings due to famine and drought?
Hmm. So you see, there are four more symptoms of Kali Yuga in the form of questions. So the first one is, my three legs are missing. Are you sad because you are seeing that my three legs are missing? Now you will hear later on in this chapter also that dharma actually stands on four legs. So what are these legs? Satya, Daya, Tapaha, and Shaucham. Satya means truthfulness, Daya means mercy, Tapa means austerity, and Shaucham means cleanliness. So dharma, religious principles, these are the four pillars of religious principles. So in Kali Yuga, three pillars are gone. Only one pillar is remaining. And which pillar is that? We will hear about it later in this chapter. But what Dharma the bull is trying to say is that, are you sad mainly because you see three of my legs are gone? Then he asks the second questions. Are you in great anxiety because henceforward the unlawful meat eaters will exploit you? So this is the second symptom of Kali Yuga. The second symptom is that the cows and the bulls will be slaughtered in an organized way. There will be slaughterhouses which are very, very common in Kali Yuga. So are you unhappy because you foresee that in the future you are going to be killed in the slaughtered houses. So this is another symptom of Kali Yuga. Then the third one: are you in a sorry plight because the demigods are now being bereft of their share of sacrificial offering, because no sacrifice is being performed at present? So demigods bereft of sacrificial offering means, in general, in Kali Yuga, people have become irreligious. They don't have any inclination towards performing Vedic activities like yajna and so on. Although it is not required for devotees, Sankirtan yajna is sufficient enough. Chanting of the holy name is the sufficient yajna. But for those who are not devotees, who are not in the Bhakti Yoga route, or in the in the path of Bhakti Yoga, it is recommended that they do perform yajna time to time. And these yajnas are actually very uh, elevating for such people. So Kali Yuga people not performing yajna is something very similar, like jail residents are not uh, properly obeying and following the jail authorities. So if we perform yajna, why do we perform yajna? We perform yajna mainly to please the demigods. In Bhagavad Gita also, we hear that uh, uh, the food grain comes from where? The food grain comes from rains. Rain comes from where? Rain comes from yajna. And yajna comes from where? Yajna comes when people perform their prescribed duties. So even if people who are of fruitive mentality, if they perform yajna, if they perform this duty of performing yajna, then the demigods are pleased. When the demigods are pleased, they shower profuse rain. And when they shower profuse rain, then there is a lot of prosperity in terms of lot of food. So that is what the Dharma, the bull, is telling Dharani, the cow, that are you sorry because demigods are now bereft of their share of sacrificial offerings, because no sacrifices are being performed. So in the future, you can expect scarcity of food, scarcity of rains, and so on. So that is what it is being mentioned. And we see in today's Kali Yuga, we see there is often a lot of scarcity of food, there is a lot of scarcity of rain in some geographical locations. And then, or are you grieving for living beings because of their suffering due to famine and drought? So, famine and drought are also very common in Kali Yuga. So, all these shlokas, verses from 19th onwards, you will see the symptoms of Kali Yuga being mentioned in the form of a question. Now, please read once further, Mataji.
Are you feeling compunction for the unhappy women and children who are left forlorn by unscrupulous persons? Or are you unhappy because the goddess of learning is being handled by Brahmanas addicted to acts against the principles of religion? Or are you sorry to see that Brahmanas have taken shelter of administrative families that do not respect Brahminical culture?
Hmm. So, three more points, three more symptoms. Are you feeling compunction for the unhappy women and children who are left forlorn by unscrupulous persons? So it is talking about women abuse and it is talking about child abuse. So we hear about some stories in our Vedic literature about women abuse. We also hear some stories about child abuse. So there are stories in Vedic literature, but child abuse and women abuse in Vedic culture in the past was practically unheard of. It was very rare. And whenever there would be a child abuse or a women abuse, there would be some kind of a war or some kind of a retaliation or some kind of a uh, reaction that might be coming from the Lord towards the person performing child abuse or women abuse. Now, two examples I would give. Mother Sita was abused in Ramayana, and what happened, you know. Lord Ramchandra killed Ravan. In Mahabharat, we see Draupadi was abused, and what happened, you know. Lord Krishna organized a complete war to eradicate the Kauravas. So, this is the example of women abuse. Child abuse. Now we see the story of Prahlad Maharaj being abused by his demon father Hiranyakashipu. What happened? Lord Hiranyakashipu was killed. King Hiranyakashipu was killed by Lord Narsingadev. Similarly, we also see some kind of an abuse happened with Dhruv Maharaj. His father Uttanapad neglected him, and and we know ultimately he repented for whatever he did, and Dhruv Maharaj became very dear devotee of the Lord. So those are the stories of child abuse and women abuse, but in Vedic times it was very rare, and if it would happen, then there would be some very serious repercussions about it. But in Kali Yuga, we see child abuse and women abuse very, very common. We see women being misused, mishandled, uh, and being left alone by these unscrupulous people. And similarly for children also. If you read newspaper, you will find these stories practically every day in every newspaper. Then we go to the next one. Are you unhappy because the goddess of learning is being handled by Brahmanas addicted to act against the principles of religion? So Brahmanas are supposed to impart education in a society, specifically the spiritual education. And Brahmanas need to do this work without partiality, without being greedy. But today, in today's world, we see the education practically is bereft of spiritual subject matter. And those teachers who are teaching this education are salaried people. They simply follow they are very partial. They are partial means they would either impart education to those people who would score more, or they would scar education to those people who would pay more. So like this, so they have become very partial and biased. However, Brahmanas are supposed to give education very impartial way, and to all people at large in the society. So today, this is another symptom of Kali Yuga. Then are you sorry to see the Brahmanas have taken shelter of administrative families who do not respect Brahmanical culture? So, rulers, politicians in Kali Yuga are not following Vedic culture. They actually are condemning Vedic culture. And you can see in Indian politics, there are so many political parties who would condemn. Who would condemn Vedic literature, Vedic culture, and they employ Brahmanas. They would pay salaries to these people to speak on their behalf. Practically these Brahmanas should not accept anything like this, any job like this. But this is all what is happening in the society today, in the Kali Yuga today. So these are other few symptoms that you can hear from the bull in the form of questions. Okay, 22nd Mataji, please read.
The the so-called administrators are now bewildered by the influence of this age of Kali, and thus they have put all state affairs into disorder.
Hmm.
Are you now lamenting this disorder?
Hmm.
Now the general populace does not follow the rules and regulations for eating, sleeping, drinking, mating, etc., and they are inclined to perform such anywhere and everywhere. Are you unhappy because of this?
Yeah. So the first part of this verse we already discussed about the unscrupulous administrators. So he's asking, are you unhappy because of these unscrupulous administrators? And in the second part, he's saying, Bull is saying, are you unhappy because people are not following rules and regulations for eating, sleeping, drinking, and mating? Uh, and they are inclined to perform such acts anywhere and everywhere. Are you unhappy because of this? So in Vedic culture, there are rules and regulations even for eating, sleeping, drinking, mating. There are certain guidelines to be followed for these acts. Now we see animals performing act of mating. They do it on streets shamelessly. They don't feel shame because they are not aware about it. But if a human being does something similar, he will be put into jail. He will be put into jail. This is such a unhumanly activity. Similarly, eating, sleeping, drinking, and all these things. So, for normal day to day activities, also, there were rules and regulations in the Vedic society. Uh, For eating, we would make a prayer. We would, before eating, we would offer the food to the Lord. We would eat in a very polite way. We would eat in a way, in a consciousness, the food that it is actually the mercy of the Lord which is coming to us. Like this. So, there were some rules of eating. Similarly, there were rules of sleeping also. Before sleeping we would prayer, and we after sleeping we would pray to the Lord. So all that things were there in the past. But what the dharma, the bull, is asking that, are you unhappy because all these rules will not be followed in Kali Yuga? So uh, something of that nature we see in Kali Yuga very often. And that is what being discussed here in the form of questions. Okay, 23rd Mataji.
O Mother Earth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, incarnated himself as Lord Shri Krishna just to unload your heavy burden. All his activities here are transcendental and they cement the path of liberation. You are now aware of his presence. You are probably now thinking of those activities and feeling sorry in their absence.
Hmm. Now this discussion is coming to a conclusion. Like you, like you have heard in the discussion of Yudhishthir Maharaj and Arjuna, after asking so many questions to Arjuna, finally Yudhishthir Maharaj asked, "Are you lamenting mainly because Lord Krishna has departed from this world?" So similarly, Bull is also asking a very similar question, that are you, my dear Dharani, my dear Mother Earth, are you unhappy because Lord Hari, who incarnated, who actually took this avatar mainly to unburden you from the burden of the sinful people, yeah? And now he has left. Now he has left. So are you mainly because unhappy because of that? And here there's a specific word that has been used for Lord Krishna, and that word is in the 23rd verse. That word is uh, Nirvan Vilambitani. Nirvan Vilambitani. Nirvan Vilambitani actually Prabhupada has translated, and they cement the path of liberation. If you hear the activities of the Lord, they will actually cement you, they will actually put you on the path of liberation. So that is Nirvan Vilambitani. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his purports, has explained the same word in a very different way. So Nirvan actually is similar to moksha. The word nirman is same as moksha. Moksha means impersonal liberation. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining this, that when you hear the activities of the Lord, when you hear the activities of the Lord, then the path of liberation is also being mocked. Uh, the path of liberation, it is actually a mockery to the path of liberation. It is so sweet. So this is something you can see how different acharyas explain the same word in a different way, but still in line with the devotional conclusions. So that is what we need to understand. So what he is trying to say here is, are you feeling lamenting because Lord Krishna is now left this abode? So these are some of the questions Bull is asking. Bull, the Dharma, the Bull is asking Dharani, the Mother Earth. And now we conclude this session today with this last verse, which is simply concluding the whole discussion. Okay, please read,
Mother,
Mataji.
Mother, you are the reservoir of all riches. Please inform me of the root cause of your tribulations by which you have been reduced to such a weak state. I think that the powerful influence of time, which conquers the most powerful, might have forcibly taken away all your fortune, which was absorbed even by the devil.
Hmm. So here, but the Bull is saying, Mother, you are reservoir of all riches. You are reservoir of all riches. So, uh, Mother Earth, or the Earth planet on which we are living, is actually complete in itself. Like we read this verse from Ishopanishad, Om Purnam Purnamidam. It is complete in itself. So the Lord has created so many universes. In so many universes, He has created so many planets. So each and every system, each and every living, uh, uh, each and every planet that He has created is complete in itself. So you are reservoir of all riches. Please inform me of the root cause of your tribulation by which you have been reduced to such weak state. And I think that the powerful influence of time, which conquers the most powerful, might have forcibly taken away all your fortune. So, what he's trying to hint here is that now, because the Lord has departed, because when the Lord descended to you, descended on Earth planet, then you became extra glorified. You became extra rich with all these riches. Now, because the Lord has left, and when the Lord has left, all that extra opulence that you were enriched with, that extra opulence has also gone. So, are you unhappy because of that? So, like that. So, even you became so enriched that even the demigods used to worship you when the Lord was here. So, but now when the Lord has departed, you have lost all those favors. Now, after this 24th verse, Dharani will reply to Dharma the bull. And rest of the chapter is actually the response of Dharani to the bull. So we will continue that discussion in our coming classes. But I hope you enjoyed the session today. This was quite nice. We could hear about various symptoms of Kali Yuga, where various devotional ecstasies of King Parikshit Maharaj, and various, I would say, ecstasies of the sages of Naimisharanya when they were trying to get a hint from Suta Goswami that probably our speaker is digressing from Krishna Katha. So those are typical three, I would say, takeaway points from the class today. But would now go back to you, the very exalted devotees of our assembly. If you have any discussions, any points uh, to elaborate or to share, now it's your time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, nice class. Nice to hear about the Kali Yuga stories, what is happening reality. And we are also eager to see what the answer is in the future classes.
Yeah, okay. Very nice. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thanks for your feedback.
I got emotional when the mention of the same, like how Krishna reciprocates with the devotees.
Yeah, so now you are
And
eligible for liberation, Mataji. Okay, okay, okay. Any other points? Very nice points.
Puji, do you have a verse for the next week?
I will post it, Mataji. I will post it. I have the words for the next week. I can mention it to you right now also. Thank you for reminding me, because sometimes I get a little delayed in posting that verse on the screen. So now you have seventh verse of seventh chapter and 10th verse of the seventh chapter. Seventh and 10th verse of the seventh chapter of first canto. I
thank you,
will
Prabhu.
I will also make a note of it on the WhatsApp group. And meanwhile, I would like to make a small announcement. Our Gurudev is embarking upon a project in next 5 years where he would like to dedicate his time in India. Generally, he would spend his time outside India, but now he want to focus a lot of his time in India. And his favorite style of preaching is to give cultural education, and that means he would preach the message of Krishna consciousness by way of singing, by way of presenting kirtans, by way of presenting dramas, by way of presenting philosophy, by way of presenting Krishna conscious food, clothing, and so on. So using this theme of culture, he want to present this theme to the people of Western world while he is in India. And for that, he has chosen a place called Rishikesh. All of you would know about Rishikesh, which is in Uttar Pradesh, very close to my hometown. And every year, he want to organize a 21-day festival program for these people. Rishikesh is a hub where people from Western world come in the search of spirituality. Practically, they come to search spirituality, which is mostly impersonal spirituality. So he want to be present there to give them not impersonal spirituality but Krishna consciousness, which is very personal, which is very, I would say, uh, very beautiful, very charming, very full of variety, and so on. So each festival will have this budget of something like 70-75 lakh rupees. So I would humbly request to all the people, some of you have already made some contribution, and I would really uh, thank all the devotees who have made this contribution. Some contribution from your pocket, which you may want to do it. If you are based in US or if you are based abroad, I mean, you can do it in US itself. I can give you some phone number, some addresses where you can send your contribution. Some small contribution to participate in this Sankirtan Yajna, which is being embarked upon by my very dear beloved Shila Gurudev. So with that little announcement, I would also like to mention that soon we will start our presentation by class program. In the presentation by class program, we are inviting you people, the devotees, to present some topic from Srimad Bhagavatam or elsewhere from Vedic literature, maybe Bhagavad Gita or otherwise. Practically, we would want, because it's a Bhagavatam study program, that you present from Bhagavatam, but you can choose to present from other classes also, other books also. uh, we would start that program very soon. We have identified our first speaker, who is our Vasudevan Prabhu. Vasudevan Prabhu is at the moment thinking about a topic. I have given him some options. He's thinking about that topic and has very readily agreed to present a class in the coming sessions. Maybe it could be next Sunday. It could be maybe any other Sunday also, depending upon when he is able to prepare his class. So soon we will reach out to all other devotees also who have given their names. The idea is mainly to give you an encouragement, give you a platform, give you an experience, give you a taste of what does it mean to prepare a class for Lord Krishna, to present a class for Lord Krishna, uh, and to experience that joy. So I experience that joy because of all of you. Because you come, I have the motivation to prepare the class and present it to you. But I would like to share that joy to others also, to give this platform of Gita Online Study YouTube channel, where when you will present the class, we will post your class on our platform, and will 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 that should, in my opinion, give you an experience and encouragement to present such classes using online media on your own. I have my style of presenting it. You may have your own style of presenting it, which could be even more beautiful, or more, I would say, uh, nicer than what I'm trying to do. And you probably will find little more satisfaction, because if you present it in your own style, you find it is even more joyful. So like that, we are trying to embark upon that project also. Soon you will hear announcement when our first class on that theme will be organized. And typically we will organize two classes in per session, and that will happen once maybe in 2 months, or once maybe in 3 months, something like that. We will, like we organize our quiz programs, similarly we will add these classes also. So now, with those announcements, maybe I would also like to hear from you any comment or any question you might have.
Regarding the cultural program held by your Gurudev Prabhuji,
Yeah.
I just
Mm.
wanted, I'm inquisitive, whether who will be invited in those programs, the ones who are making donations or
Yeah.
anybody?
So donation wise, actually we are not inviting everyone for these programs. The program invitation are by there is a selected audience which will be present in this class, because the space that we have hired in Rishikesh is a small space, and not everyone can be accommodated in that program. So typically there would be something like 300 to 400 Western devotees, or I would say uh, would be devotees, I would say like that, and who would be mainly attending those programs. So in these programs there will be prasadam distribution, there will be sari distribution. We will teach them how to wear sari and those and things like that. But if somebody is able to make a significant contribution, then first six contributions will be invited also to this program, just to honor their magnanimity and their generosity. These people will be organized, but otherwise to other devotees, they are not invited there, but they will be sent the YouTube links and Zoom call links to attend these kirtan programs. So any uh, now you can see one plate of prasadam that a devotee will eat there will cost us something like 400 to 500 rupees.
Oh,
So maybe you may want to contribute one plate of prasadam, or maybe
mm,
even half plate of prasadam. That is also okay. But my point is, if you make a small contribution, the Lord will be happy. Like you hear that verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Syan Mahat Sevaya, Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. By doing a small service, by doing a little service, you get a big reward in terms of you develop taste for Hari Katha, Vasudev Katha Ruchi, like that.
Yes.
So maybe small contribution can also go a long way in our spiritual journey. So you
Yes.
may want to spend maybe 500 rupees in a restaurant on a weekend. So you may want to sacrifice your weekend visit to a restaurant and may want to contribute to one plate of prasad to this festival. So
Yes.
that is also really appreciated and really very useful. Yeah.
Thank you. Nice class. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, I would conclude the session today, and with lot of activities that we are planning now, we will continue with our next class. Probably it is a presentation by Vasudevan Prabhu, or in case Prabhu is not ready yet, we will continue with our regular Bhagavatam class. As you will already notice the quiz are already on your way. We are now organizing the quizzes on 5 chapters: 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 5 chapter quizzes will now be organized. So short answer type questions are already on your table. Please get busy with those, and I will soon try to compile multiple choice questions also and send it to you. Thank you very much. Hare
Only
Krishna.
have you announced services for the next week?
Services for the
Next class.
okay, no, okay, yeah. So Mangala Charan prayers by uh, 1 minute. Mangala Charan prayers by Rakesh Prabhu and class summary by Vrindavaneshwari Mataji. So Mataji is there. Yes,
Yes,
she is there.
Prabhu.
So
Yeah.
Mataji also got the notice, and Rakesh ji actually
Yes.
decided who to do it, so he already know about it. Okay, ji. So once again, with folded hands, I would really thank you for giving me this opportunity continuously to recite, read, study Srimad Bhagavatam. And now I want or desire that you also, being uh, students of our classes, become more motivated to present these classes yourself as well. So with that small message, we'll take your permission. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.